Peace and blessings, everyone. This is Naseed Gifted, and
Dilettante J Bass.
we are the Futures Black Podcast. The Futures Black Podcast, man. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes, yes.
It's our first live episode, so we definitely, hopefully, you appreciate this. Tonight, we're going to be going behind the pixels, African animation studios, and discovering the hidden gems of African animation studios as we go behind the pixels to uncover the extraordinary tales of African animation studios. So thank you for tuning in. This is the Futures Black Podcast. My name is Naseed Gifted. This is
Dilettante.
Dilettante. And hey man, we glad you all tuning in. We want you to make sure that you let us know where you're tuning in from in the chat. Make sure you like and subscribe, tell a friend. We are here. This is our first live show. We had a little technical difficulty, so we had to make sure that we took care of that.
Looking for a tech team.
Yeah. So if you're a part of a tech team, camera crew, any of that, please make sure you tune in live. And hey, we got the chat going. We got all of this stuff, man. So we want to kind of start off. A lot of people probably don't know about the various African animation studios, and we're going to get into some American-based Black animation, but we wanted to start with the African continent first because there is some phenomenal projects that's coming out, that's in the works, that you need to be a part of. And with the Futures Black Podcast, we want to always just make sure that we showcase and highlight those innovative and creative projects that's coming out into the universe. So, thank you for tuning in. And we're about to get started, Dilettante, man. I know you've been going for, a week or two, man. I had to hold it down without you, but, man, glad to have you back.
Atlanta was sweet. Atlanta was sweet.
Atlanta was sweet. Oh, hey, man. Hot Atlanta. Yeah. Shout out to all of the people that's tuning in from Hot Atlanta. We're tuning in from Jersey, from the pod, from the pod. So, want to kind of get into a few things that's first, like definitely the history of how Black animation, African animation studios, the plight. We're going to talk about a couple of the studios and the projects that they actually have. But man, shout out to Nigeria holding it down. We're going to talk about a couple of those individuals, and a lot of these individuals that we've come in contact with are being a part of the KHEM Animation Film Festival, so KAFF, which is going to be featured at KHEM Fest / BiteCon, which is a part of BiteCon Week, which is going to happen in Miami, Florida, from April 21st to the 28th. So make sure, if you haven't gotten your tickets, make sure you get your tickets. Make sure you go to bitecon.org. BiteCon, that's BITE, con.org. So make sure you tap into that. We're going to be doing some fabulous things down in Miami, with our
10th year anniversary.
Yeah, 10th year anniversary, man.
Down
So
in Miami.
man, we definitely super excited about that.
It's gonna be nice, hot, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So we are, we're ready. We're going, like I said, we definitely tap it in. I wanted to kind of get into some of the things that which makes historically, so for African animation studios, I mean, most of the African studios has come out in the mid 20th century, right? So the mid 20th century, we have some studios that's being highlighted this week, but I definitely want to pay homage to those who paved the path, and some of the things that when we talk about African animation studios is, like some of the struggles, some of the things that actually has come out when we talk about projects, but we talk about representation and how representation matters and how diversity, inclusion, all of those things are definitely included in everything that we're doing. Shout out to Chanel in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. We definitely appreciate you. Big thumbs up for you right there. There you go.
John King in the building.
Yep, John King in the building. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We definitely appreciate you tuning in. So when we talk about African history and the history of animation, there are some contemporary issues. There's some reasons that, this actual media or medium exists, and we talk about how we could talk about historical context, how we could get into the future sense. That's why we always talk about the future in the Future's Black podcast. Also, we talk about the portrayal of diverse characters, right? So diverse characters and settings across the content. So we use this as a way to give a historical context, a cultural context, as well as being able to transport people into lands that they haven't never visited before. So some of these things have been popularized throughout the world, but we don't always see Africa in a positive light. When we talk about media, and what we're trying to do is make sure that we change that narrative and control that narrative. And that's what some of these different studios are actually doing, within these particular spaces and everything.
Okay, so what's some of the studios?
First we're gonna start off in West Africa. So shout out to Nigeria once again. So this one studio, Vortex Animation, shout out to them. They were actually a part of the KHEM Animation Film Festival, KFF. You can find us on Film Freeway at KAFF, KHEM Animation Film Festival. With regards to that, but they submitted two films. These two films from Vortex Studio, directed by Samoto Aju Chawaku. So I want to make sure that
I butcher his name.
I don't want to butcher his name, so I have to make sure I pronounce all of my syllables when I do this. But they had these two phenomenal projects. One was called Orange City, which is a phenomenal project that was a part of the KHEM Animation Film Festival, and Town Crier. These were two comedic animation short films that was one kind of gives a highlight of Nigeria, right, in the modern day sense. And with that, they actually, added a little satire, a little, cultural sense to it, and was able to put together this phenomenal film. And then, with that, tying into the various comic book series, because Vortex actually has Vortex Comics. So a lot of these are birthing out of the comic series that they are producing. And that's where a lot of this animation is actually coming from. So a lot of these African animation studios are producing comics and then transforming those actual series and everything into actual animation projects and pilots, sometimes even series and stuff. And we're going to get into some of the more popular ones that most people do know, with on the Disney platform. And then we have our boy Roy, who's doing his thing on Cartoon Network. Roy, shout out to Roy Coupe, who's doing and I don't want to butcher the name, so it's a couple in my head. So I'm gonna just pause, right? I'm gonna pause because I want to make sure that I say it right, So Ayanu with Child of Wonder, which is coming out of Unique Studios. That's YOUNEEK Studios, which is also releasing on Cartoon Network, is releasing this month. Well, actually released last month on the day after Martin Luther King's birthday, so January 16th. So they just released their series, but they also came out with a number of products. So, and the director and producer of these characters and series, Roy Coupe, which is a dear friend of ours. We've been table mates. We've been going to different conferences, sat on panels and discussions together. So we definitely appreciate that. Oh, okay. Oh, Mel Jizzy, let us know you tuning in from. This is the Future's Black podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We definitely appreciate you tuning in. So with Unique Studios, they've actually produced Malika, Malika, the Warrior Queen, actually short film in partnership with Anthill Studios out of Nigeria, as well, which they feature a historic Lagos, Nigeria, or the West African Empire within that series. And then they have EXO, the legend of Wale Williams, the legend of Wale Williams, which is EXO, which is a futuristic Lagos, Nigeria. So they actually talk about Afrofuturism within these particular projects. And if you haven't tuned in, make sure you check these particular films out. And then also, Kajani Media, who is coming out with a Waju, Awaju, which is actually going to be on Disney. Now,
Yeah.
Awaju, which actually means the future in Yoruba, right? So we talk about Yoruba culture. So they're exposing people to the Yoruba culture, So this is also takes place in a futuristic Nigeria, and it premieres on Disney February 28th. So it's coming out later this month. So that's actually something that's super, super phenomenal. Get the Okay. Someone typed the films into the chat. All right. Well, yeah, we're gonna get our assistant to tap the films into the chat. We'll
Yeah.
definitely do that.
They see that's us.
Yeah, that's us. Hold on. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. We're gonna pause. We're gonna type those films right into the chat there. So you tuned into the Futures Black podcast, but definitely thank you for tuning in. But definitely on Disney and a number of the films that we're going to be actually kind of talking about actually on the Disney platform today. And we definitely appreciate that. Wait, hold on. Let me call our virtual assistant. Make sure they get in here and get this chat going.
Yeah.
Because the people are waiting for these films. So we do want you to tune into this stuff. So Iwaju, which means the future in Yoruba, is going to be on the Disney platform. Make sure you check it out. It's February 28th later this month. And it's going to be a phenomenal project from KHEM Media, which is also it's a British-based company, but it's focused within Nigeria as well. So so shout out to the West African content, and then also, like I said, most of this stuff is birthing out of comics. So they actually had the Lake Tears comic, the Razor Man Part 1 comic and everything, which are other projects that they'll be looking to probably turn into animated series later on, And then once we go down the continent, we move right into Ghana. And Ghana, they actually have a number of animation film studios. And once again, we're just highlighting a few that we know of. If you are familiar with any of these platforms or any of these film studios, please put those in the chat. Let people know about these phenomenal projects. But we actually featured at the KHEM Animation Film Festival, from the Ageni boys. The Ageni boys were from Accra, Ghana, and that project, which was super, super dope, was Azamu. I mean, no, it wasn't even Azamu. I done messed that whole name.
You messed it up.
I done messed the whole
gotta
name
type
up.
these things.
Yeah.
Please forgive us.
Yeah, please forgive us,
We're
because
foundational Black Americans, as they say.
Yes, and we want to make sure that we stay on in our native tongue. Okay. Oh, Elville, Jersey here. Okay, that's Mariah's world. Okay, is that my niece? That's my niece typed in there. Okay, all right. Thank you for tuning in. Niece. All right. So Azama, the Guyana hero, which is about a boxer, and I know you remember that actual film.
That
So
was a good one.
yeah, that was a phenomenal film, and they won a number of awards. They were at the Annecy Film Festival, of course, at KHEM Fest, KHEM Animation Film Festival. This was like a 13-minute film. It goes through the journey of one of the boxers who had to fight one of the top heavyweight champions of the world. He only had like 8 weeks to prepare. And this kind of goes through his journey, through that. And like I said, within Ghana, the Jenny brothers or bros who will produce this film and actually, was able to showcase it through various different film outlets throughout. If you, like I said, if you heard of this film, make sure you let us get a thumbs up. Let us know if you even seen it. But once again, you're tuning into the Futures Black podcast. Once again, my name is Naseed Gifted. This is my co-host Dilettante J Bass. And like I said, you just tuning in. And then we got to go down to South Africa, man. So we go from the west to the and we're gonna get to the east. I'm sorry, let me get to the east first. So the east, we got Fat Boys. The Fat Boys are back. So you got Fat Boy Productions, who was in Nairobi, Kenya, who were producing some phenomenal projects. So I know we don't have to put Fat Boys in the chat, but it is Fat Boys Animation. Check them out. They're producing some phenomenal projects, within that. And then we go down to South Africa where we get some of the more popular animation studios and some of the more popular projects that you may be familiar with, where we talk about Triggerfish Studios. Triggerfish Studios is award-winning. They got popularized in 2011 with their latest film. Well, not their latest film, excuse me, in 2011. That's where they got worldwide recognition with The Lost Thing. So The Lost Thing, Adventure Time, The Distant Land, and Kizimoto, which is actually streaming now, Generation of Fire, which is streaming now on Disney Plus. If you haven't seen that, that is 10 episodes of an anthology, streaming on Disney Plus right now. And most people haven't heard of these actual films, but these are actually covering the whole African diaspora, and they're doing stuff in Disney Plus, man.
I remember the first black animation we used to watch, Sadie Cool.
Oh, Sadie Cool, man.
Yeah, that was like the first.
Well, that's French based.
Yeah, but it was.
Well, I mean, but it talked about. I mean, the
you ever get a chance, watch that one.
Yeah, Curry Cool.
Yeah, Curry Cool.
Yeah, Curry Cool.
I'm like, it's so long.
Cool. Yeah.
15,
Curry Cool.
Years.
Curry Cool was the actual animation, but that actually gets into a lot of traditions that where was that based in? Was that West Africa?
West Africa.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was Ghana or.
It's one of them cartoons that you can watch with your children.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's a must-have in your collection of animation.
Yeah.
That's one I would give.
No, definitely. That was definitely something that you can definitely tap into, So with that, you got Lumina Pictures out of South Africa as well. They were founded in 2001. They do the visual effects, and a lot of people don't know that this South African studio, Lumina Pictures, do the visual effects for feature films and TV series. One, of course, was The Lion King. Right. Yeah. So the Lion King film, they've actually done a lot of the animation with regards to that. They've done a lot of the visual effects for the Avengers. A lot of people don't even know that. And the Game of Thrones, one of my other favorite, series to be able to watch. So that's Lumina Pictures out of South Africa. They're doing a ton of work, with regards to that. So within this whole animation realm, we talk about, some of the challenges and like who's number one, so if you're tuned in right now to the Futures Black podcast, what country do you think has the number or has the largest number of animation studios and are, holding it down, with regards to animation, across the continent, so type that in the chat. Let us know what you think, with regards to any of these countries that are actually holding it down. There's a number of studios. Some of them doing some really, really big things. Some of them doing some.
So you mean countries worldwide or just?
No, countries in Africa. I'm talking about countries in Africa, because everyone doesn't have, and then we get into the challenges, the infrastructure to be able to, because the one thing that a lot of people don't know, especially by hosting a film festival, that's why we do short films, in general, is that there is a price point. The cost of producing an animation is super, super costly, man. We talk about 24 frames per second.
Yeah.
The number of individuals that are within a project. Oh, we got Nigeria, we got Ghana second. Okay. We got John King talking about Kenya. Okay. All right. So we'll go reveal the answer, in a second. But as far as the front runners for all of this, the country that has the strongest, infrastructure, and we talk about talent pool of artists and everything, is actually South Africa at the moment. Yeah, so South Africa is actually, because the country where we talk about, because a lot of things, a lot of people don't know, like we have these freedoms over here that a lot of people don't have. And the government plays a big part on what you broadcast to the mass media, right? And one of the reasons that, the Disney Plus series, even though it has all of these different African animation companies, hasn't been popularized or been talked about, as much as it has, is because the infrastructure of these particular countries don't even have the access to the Disney Plus platform. So the individuals that they're actually talking about, and we talk about a cultural sense and being able to identify with what's going on within these particular stories, are not even having the ability to be able to view it.
Then then when we talk about infrastructure, a lot of these countries have electrical problems.
Oh yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. The
Like
infrastructure.
well, you could be in the light 1 minute,
I mean,
and in the dark
well,
5 minutes
generally, remember, in Senegal when we was in
it's
Dakar,
always in the dark.
we was always in the dark. The
Like,
lights be on, and then people just go get the candles, and then
and
next
they
thing you know,
continue on
and
with
then continue on with life. And
Yeah.
and it was so regular that no one really blinked the eye or whatever. They just knew where the candles were and then just made it happen. But with that, the infrastructure, to be able to have Wi-Fi and all of these other things, within remote villages and stuff like, or just in the city, we had to go to an internet cafe to get internet. Remember? Back then. Now, of course, that infrastructure has definitely been upgraded, since. But something that we have regular over here, where you can get a Wi-Fi signal all over the place, you don't have that in particular parts of the continent and everything.
Yeah, and what it does too, it makes different countries advance. It stops their advancement and progression in technology. Like, take out of Africa, you go to Cuba. When I was in Cuba for about a week, order to use the phone, the Wi-Fi, everybody had to go to a park. And literally, you see everybody in the park on their phone just to send a message back home.
Oh yeah.
So it's like that happens all over the world.
I mean, and then shoot, the conservation of electricity.
Yeah.
I know in Kemet, when I was in Egypt, they turned out all the lights.
Yeah, they'll
all
shut
the
down
lights. Everything
grid.
is. I remember walking in the park on the streets, and everyone was sitting in the park in the dark, and the only thing that you could see, when you look, you peering through the lights and everything, is people's cell phones or whatever the case may be. So I understand that, like I said, the government and the infrastructure definitely plays a part in, some of the stuff that we are that they're experiencing as far as challenges and everything. But the talent pool is definitely there. And I know, you got these platforms like Disney and everything like that, they're looking at a different labor force, right? Because animation is so costly that they're trying to tap into the continent to get labor at a cheaper labor, so don't be fooled, what I'm saying, with all of this stuff, because they're not only taking the rights of these particular products. So I do want you to support these actual projects, because those film studios actually gets the opportunity to get additional work, when you do support these projects. But also look a little deeper and support their independent projects outside of these particular platforms, so they can actually still keep the lights on, be able to pay their workers, and then actually get a fair wage, with regards to this stuff.
Yeah. True indeed.
Definitely, man. Let's see. So most people looking at the chat, we got Nigeria, we had Ghana in second, and Kenya. Just to let everybody know that South Africa has the number one, or is the front runner for the animation studios within this particular space.
Chanel said it happened to her in the Gambia.
Yeah.
Sitting in the light,
sitting in the dark, man. You definitely
like everybody know that move.
Do you know where? Oh, so we got a question in the chat. Do you guys have the information accessible somewhere? Yes, we're gonna make sure that we put it in the chat as soon as our virtual assistant comes right back in. We're gonna make sure that we want to do that. Yep, and it's definitely here to learn. So a lot of the things that we wanted to kind of tap into was not only these particular studios and these particular projects. It's the importance of representation, the cultural understanding. How do you further this particular movement, with an animation, but being able to control the narrative and seeing our future selves, that is super, super important. And that's why we wanted to kind of stick with talk about the continent, with regards to the animation studios, because as we peel the layers back and then we come back into the States, there is some animation companies that are doing some phenomenal projects, like Lion Forge Animation, who has Bugtron, it's almost like a bug Tron, film. They are the studio behind Hair Love, which is also based off of the book Hair Love, that actually did some real serious numbers on Kickstarter, to be able to get the project off the ground. And then Iyanu, which is actually going to be coming, that's in collaboration with Unique Studios, that's going to be on Cartoon Network. That should be premiering now. That launched January 16th.
Also one of the great difference too from the state and Africa is black.
Yeah.
The states, United States, we got to fight a structure or a system where they're controlling the infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for us to get ahead when they're controlling the infrastructure. Some of these studios, we come with ideas and they'll shoot them down or they'll steal the ideas.
Mm-hmm.
That happens a lot. It's theft in the industry, whatever. Or they'll make it seem like your ideas are not good enough, and years later you'll see it
Oh yeah,
manifest
that's
before your eyes.
ton,
Like
ton
what?
of that, ton of that.
So then, far as us, we have to come together and create our own studios.
Yep.
Like sometimes everybody on the island of themselves and everybody have their egos. Everybody wanna, oh, it's me. And one of the greatest things in this, whether you're talking about animation, anything, is are you willing to let part of your idea or whatever you're doing go?
Mm-hmm.
Can you sacrifice it? Can you sell a part of it? And sometimes we may have to bring other people in. If we want to create a studio, we may have to reach out to a group of us and each us plays a part and we determine which each part is. And that
Mm-hmm.
goes for any business we're doing in America.
Oh yeah, definitely. When you look at the number of job opportunities, and that's why we get into this whole animation, gaming, comic book creation, and everything, and we talk about tech. There is a ton of STEM and STEAM opportunities within these spaces that our black and browns are not being able to tap into. So we're talking about these studios, we're talking about these projects. We use the entertainment as a vehicle to be able to do job creation, right?
Yeah.
Because when you look at the credits of all of these particular projects, those are job opportunities, right? And those job opportunities are never generally occupied by black and browns. And we're looking to change that paradigm accordingly.
And you know what else when we talk about animation, it's the steps.
Mm-hmm.
What I see like right here in New Jersey, Newark, everywhere, it's a lot of artists, right?
Yeah.
But the artists can take it to the next level if they know how to draw and then draw layers and layers for animation and take it to the step of putting an iPad, coloring it, and doing it those steps. Instead, we get stuck at a painting or whatever, study transforming it and turn it to a cartoon.
Oh yeah, digital art and clip studio has been
video game, something, but we stop. And it seemed like every artist, they'll just stop at drawing a dope comic character and leave it there.
And that's why we gotta look at broadening our horizons and being multimedia, being, not just, that's why we talking about, we have a graphic novel series that we transformed into animation, so we talk about transmedia, being able to take our media and transfer it and translate it into different platforms. So we have the graphic novel series, which is also digital called as well as in print. Yeah, P.B.Soldier. Make sure you check that out. That's going to be on PBS Media Studios. You tuned into the Phocused Black podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Every Thursday, 8 p.m., we're going to hit you with tech, Afrofuturism, and everything in between, making sure that, you are not only above water with this stuff, we making sure that you're going to be able to tap in, because the resources that we're going to provide you with is not only for you, but for your family, your nephews, your nieces, and all of those other individuals who may need this information. We're talking about career paths. We're talking about different opportunities for our people, man, That's what it is. And then how do we build generational wealth if we don't, produce legacy and be able to look at these various things as opportunities and being able to tap into it.
Yes. Where we at? Oh, okay.
Just get some water.
But also too, the whole purpose of this is also to tap into people's creativity. Like you have many people have children and they always think just because they black, they got to play basketball. They got to do this, that, and other. Some people have skills that can be used for the future. Like, who would have known playing video games would have turned as big as it did? Some people get paid to play video games.
Oh yeah, yeah. And shout out to Gerald Lawson. You know, this is Black History Month, so we're gonna always tap in Gerald Lawson, man, who was the inventor of the cartridge. Yeah. You know, the reason that we had Nintendo, Sega Genesis.
You'd be like,
yeah. No.
Got slam it in.
Put it in the freezer. Put it in the freezer. Yeah. You know.
I do all that with Nintendo. I don't want to. What did it really work? Well, it worked to us.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, it made the game keep from freezing. But Gerald Lawson was the individual who created the Channel F video game system, which actually went into ColecoVision, which went into the Tandy and Atari 2600, and so on and so forth to get to this modern day system. So everyone who's playing PlayStation and all these other platforms, and now we're more into PC games and then in streaming. You know, thank you, Gerald Lawson or Jerry Lawson, for being able to do that.
What's crazy is the crossover from comic books to animation to video games and to movies. Because some things cross every boundary. Like, what X-Men, comic book, cartoon, movie.
Yep.
All Marvel, all of them went through that stage.
Yeah.
So it's something you can pick up on any platform. There's an outlet for you to go on each platform. There's a career path on each platform. So, we just want you to talk about it. If you know other options that someone could take, write it in the chat.
Yeah, definitely. And if you know of any projects that we haven't talked about, like I said, we're highlighting a few projects, there's also a number of American-based companies that, have African-centered content that we want to be able to tap into because we talk about this whole Afrofuturism piece. One out of Tokyo, Japan, my man Arshel Islo from Paterson, New Jersey, who went to Japan and started an animation studio. He did a phenomenal job with this. And when I tell you the projects that this studio was working on, you be like, oh wow, like that, it's so mind blowing because it's those anime projects that are so I mean, the ones that's on everyone's brain and everything. So the art Chicago, and I always mess the name up and everything, but the art Chicago. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure. But Arshel Esum from Paterson, New Jersey, shout out to him. But their studio worked on Attack on Titan, One Piece, Tokyo Ghoul, and Naruto. So Naruto, like those are the projects that all of the kids are definitely, looking into. And then, my man Carl Jones, who we've been trying to get to be a part of KHEM Fest and everything. Shout out to him. He's just started his animation studio, Martian Blueberry. So Martian Blueberry, Carl Jones is the individual who was the producer and animator on the Boondock series, Black Dynamite, and then Young Love, which is actually on HBO Max right now.
Who created Black Samurai?
Black Samurai, that was a Japanese company.
And they partnered up with the RZA.
Yeah, they partnered up with Samuel L. Jackson and the RZA for the soundtrack and everything. Yeah. So, like I said, we talked about Lion Forge, who's doing some, some family.
The one that was on Netflix recently, the Black Samurai one.
Oh, that was
wasn't that a brother did that one too?
Yeah, that was man, I can't think.
Forgot the name. That was That was a
Oh
good
man.
show, man.
No, it definitely was.
It
And
was only 8 episodes, or 9 or 10.
no, it was only three. Three. No, I'm sorry.
5, right?
5, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Uh,
I'm upset I don't know the name. I'll
yeah,
figure it out.
yeah.
Go to Netflix. There's a black
Yeah,
samurai.
Y'all could say. Y'all
Yeah.
could say where they had
Yeah.
Lakeith Stanfield. Lakeith Stanfield was a partner on that, as well as Flying Lotus.
Yeah.
Flying Lotus, and who else? Who else was the brother? Oh man, I can't. LaShawn, he was actually a part of LaShawn Thomas. LaShawn Thomas, who was also a part of the Boondocks, was also a part of.
You
Wait,
know what else?
no, I'm sorry. I take that back. That wasn't his project. His project was the sci-fi. It was almost like it was another project, but it was Lakeith. It was Lakeith Stanfield and Flying Lotus, who were actually the executive producers of that particular Yakusei, which is the Black Samurai.
Something we don't talk about in animation that's a key part now in all animation. It's the soundtrack.
Oh, the soundtracks is fire, man.
Hip hop, rap.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's another avenue.
I know this is about African. I know this is about African studios, but when you talk about you talk about soundtracks, you got to go with Samurai Champloo. Yeah. Samurai Champloo, man, they got one of the dopest soundtracks.
Even Black Samurai soundtrack was dope.
Oh, Afro Samurai? Yeah, because that was
the
RZA killed it on that. That was that was fire. And then once again, Yakusei with Flying Lotus, he had Thundercat on there who did the opening theme song. So that was powerful.
And what's funny, that's an avenue y'all can
they talking about Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, that was all right. That was all right. The soundtrack was all right.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah,
but the reason why we mentioned soundtrack, because that's another avenue, because his son is he's deep into that. Like, definitely. My God, hear how you said, what are we listening to?
Yeah.
Like, he's so deep into it. So that's what he want to do. What do you want to do, mate?
No, he's going to be a composer for video games and scores. He want to do scores for animation, gaming, and everything else. So and that's because he's been exposed to these different things. This guy knows composers that I've never even heard of. But the truth be told, a lot of people don't know, especially in gaming and animation. When we talk about streaming and how artists go platinum nowadays, people are going platinum on video games and animation soundtracks.
Ooh, some rapper went platinum because of that.
Yeah, there's a couple of people.
Tory Lane or one of them.
Yeah, it's a lot of them that are going. So when you watching or you playing GTA and all of those other things, and you listening to the music on that, those are credits that are going to those particular artists that allow them to be able to get platinum or double platinum status or on those particular soundtracks and everything, man. So those are different ways when we talk about transmedia. Being able to tap in and using your talent to be able to use these particular, because once again, and we're going to harp on this, each and every week, we're the biggest consumers of these particular products, right? So because we are the biggest consumers of these products, we need to change that narrative and make sure that we are not only being the consumers, but we are the creators and innovators within these spaces.
Chanel said, how do we expose this to our youth? It's not like it's a school elective.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not a school elective. No. Do you want to tell them about the tech conference?
No, you could tell them. But real quick before we go into that. One way this is exposed to the youth is we have to bring them out to certain events. Like there's a side they have animation conferences or conferences. They have comic book conferences. They have
they have animation festivals,
video gaming tournaments, conferences. And what happens is when you at these places, begin to look it up on Eventbrite, Google it, and it'll give you list of conferences that's happening everywhere. So that's a start what you can do. Then you know what? Sometime we may have to create that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We just gonna have to create it if it
I mean,
ain't
we
there.
got a job roadmap that we're gonna put in the
Yeah,
chat. You know, once we're done with this whole thing, we're gonna put the names of all of the films that we talked about
yeah,
in the studios, but also we're going to add some roadmaps for if you're into animation, all of the different job opportunities that's involved in that. Because most people don't stay past the credits unless it's a Marvel film.
yeah.
We don't
Because they
look at
know
that.
it's another.
Yeah, and that's why these projects cost 250 million dollars when you go watch Toy Story or any of these things, because those are all job opportunities for a number of people that's involved. These are hundreds, sometimes thousands of jobs, that
Yeah.
are actually to be able to put this one film together. And one of the
What is?
I'll say one of the great films that featured that had a black character as the lead, which would be Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, which
Yeah.
has won all of these phenomenal awards and everything. But look at the credits. Look at how many people are involved in that. I'm talking about animation studios from across the country. I mean, from across the continent. Involved in this whole thing, because they're not animating everything here locally in the States. They have
Yeah.
to outsource that across overseas and everything, and that also brings the budget up more and more.
Yes. Yes. No. What else we on today?
Well, I mean, we just tapping into some of the values of what's going on, the benefits of animation and everything. When we talk about representation, how do we bring forth contemporary issues,
Yeah.
using these platforms to be able to tell stories, right? And telling them in an excellent fashion that highlights us in a positive light most of the time. And sometimes it could be negative, but it's not all negative.
And animation can be another way of sending a positive message, like you said. Because back in the days when we watched cartoons, they all had a message.
Oh yeah, definitely had a message.
It's
I
like
mean, yeah, they
they
they, they
all had
made
a
sure they made
message.
sure the programming did that.
Yeah, now it has been eliminated in movies, and it's a way we can send a message to the next generation. And also, whereas though is entertaining
Oh yeah, it's
at the
definitely.
same time.
I mean, it's informative and entertainment. Edutainment, as we
Yeah,
always look at these particular platforms and everything. But you know, when we look at we want to be able to enter into new worlds, right? And when we talk about reparations, we talk about all of these different things. uh I always look at Afrofuturism as a
yeah,
way to be able to tell these narratives and be able to project what kind of future we want to see, because we are so stuck in the past.
yeah,
We debate about the present, but we never present what this future should look like. And this is just another platform, a way to be able to showcase what that future could look like.
yes. Uh, John King, he said, also the trendsetters, we have to make it cool. Yeah, you're right. We do have to make it cool, and it's starting to happen that way. The more a lot of rappers, entertainers
Well, I mean, I think we
start,
make it cool just by
yeah,
us being a part of it, and that's a
yeah,
part of the diversity or the diverse aspect of it, that we make things cool, and that's why people tune into a lot of this stuff. Um, but like I said, hey, we can't just be consuming this stuff. We got to be creators and innovators within all of these particular spaces.
yes, yes. Where we at?
Okay, let's see what else we got in the chat. How about we got that trendsetters, studios, and the festivals. So we're gonna definitely make sure that we put the studios and the festivals in the chat. I mean, not in the chat. We'll actually have it in the description. Uh, and then also we actually have the Kim Animation Film Festival, where we're going to be highlighting a number of these particular projects from these African animation studios, as well as the American-based African or Afrocentric centered films that are going to be coming out. So if you have a film project that you're looking to submit, you want to get exposure, we're going to be down in Miami with the 10th annual KHEM Fest.
Yeah,
Make sure you go to Film Freeway. That's filmfreeway.com/KAFF, which represents Kim Animation Film Festival. So that's KAFF, Kim Animation Film Festival. We
what's
are
the
in the
dates? on that Miami trip?
The Miami trip is actually, well, the Miami BikeCon week
Yeah.
is the 21st through the 28th. KHEM Fest is the latter part of that week, which is going to be that Friday and Saturday. So that's the 27th, 28th.
Down in case y'all don't know, down in Miami, they having the Black Tech Week.
Yes, we are having a Black Tech Week.
And we're part of the Black Tech Week.
Yeah, we're part of the Black Tech. Yeah.
And Miami has a strong tech movement going on down there, especially amongst the Black people.
Yeah.
It's like a hub every year, probably 2-3 times a year. So that's like a base where all the techies come together in Miami. That's something you don't hear about too much.
Yep.
But it's happening.
Because it's all a part of, because in April is Tech Month in Miami. So you always hear about Art Basel and the film festivals and all this other stuff. But they have a tech, April is Miami Tech Month. And we have the Black Tech Week, which is a part of BikeCon. So make sure you check that out. We'll put that in the chat. We definitely thank you for tuning in to the Futures Black podcast, each and every Thursday. Let us know where you tuning in from. Hey, we are here. We're going to be bringing you information and bringing forward the future, because the future is Black and we want to make sure that you are in it.
And these lives ain't going if anybody have any questions they want to ask or something they want to say, you just type it in the chat and we'll read out the question, try to answer it the best as possible.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. So man, we thank you all for tuning in. This is the Futures Black, podcast. Everybody who's been tuning in, hey man, we thank you. We appreciate you. Hey, this is gonna be our first live. We working out all the bugs each and every week. We're gonna get better and better.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to this, and thank you for tuning in once again. Hey, we're tuning. This is it.
Yeah, we out. Peace.